Hello and welcome to DDOcast, episode 350, recorded on Saturday, September 6th. I'm your host, Patrick. Doing something a little special, which I'll get to in a minute. This week's screenshot, Burblank finds a nice throne to lounge in the 187th screenshot of the week. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Google Plus Hangouts, YouTube, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be on Saturday. Next Saturday will be this 13th. And you can usually stay updated by following us on social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. What's going on this week? It's my 50th show. There were 300 shows before I took over. But what I'm doing today is I am recording live on Kyber. Well, not technically live, but I'm recording on Kyber. And I got a couple folks here with me right now. So let's start with Oceantide. Why don't you introduce yourself and say hi to everybody?
Okay, on this server I'm Oceantide, and my home server is Argonessen, and I've been playing DDO for about 4.5, 5 years now, and I listen to the podcast regularly.
Awesome. And Zenier, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, well, most people will know me on the forums as Fran Olmsford. My main server is Canis. I also have multiple characters on Sarlona and Kyber. Zenier started out as Marith on Wayfinder, was transferred over to Kyber and is now my highest level character over here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me, guys. Good to have you. We might get some more folks in and out as this goes along. We'll see. We'll get interrupted, but I'm going to sort of follow the normal show order today. And guys, feel free to jump in anytime you want to talk about stuff. We'll just start with some of the game news. Regarding logins, they are planning to implement a change for Update 23 that they hope will take care of the so-called double login bug. DDO Game Launcher will have the option to preload the client game logic data files, which can speed up initial game load and resolve an issue that could cause players to face an initial disconnection to the game upon first login. Players currently utilizing third-party tools should no longer need to use them once Update 23 is released to the live servers. This functionality will be enabled by default if you have more than 2 gigs of memory on your computer and can be disabled in the Game Launcher options under the pre-cache game logic heading.
Does that mean they are taking the DDO preloader and actually making it, what's the word?
They're part of the client. They're taking the programming in the DDO preloader and making it part of the DDO client itself. That's what it looks like they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever they're doing, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very happy about that. It's kind of been a sore spot for a while.
They've been losing new players, too, because of the loading problems.
There's been a lot of latency lately in DCs.
It's not necessarily related. This is kind of just a logging in thing. It's not going to fix lag and stuff like that, even though there's not really a silver bullet for lag or anything. But basically what this is going to do is it's been a long-standing thing, and I know the Players' Council has been adamant about kind of pushing for a fix, or at least something to help with that. And it looks like we're going to get something along those lines, which is pretty slick. So, well done, Turbine, well done. Let's see, news regarding Update 23, Epic Abbott. There's a new build on Lemania, and instead of kind of doing things... I'm not going to read the release notes because I've already done a few iterations of that. But I kind of broke it down into different topics. So, Epic Abbott. For the next Lemania build, they've reduced the frequency of Beholder and Quell spawning. They're also investigating the rate of spell point drain from Inferno. It's meant to be the same rate as Heroic Raid. The cooldown on Doomsphere Enervations, which they thought was what was causing the negative levels, but I believe that was actually the Quells, which weren't even supposed to do that at all. They're going to adjust the cooldowns on the Inferno in case special attacks, and a bug where Intercession Ward isn't blocking Intercession properly. And the rate, they did say the rate is intentionally meant to cause some difficulty in casting. What's there now is too much, and they're looking to tone it down. trip, I think, will probably be a good thing. What do you guys think about Epic Abbott coming out?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about that. I mean, I think it's probably one of the best areas they could have chosen to make Epic, and the raid looks really good. I participated in the first run of the raid on Lemania with Cookie Cobalt, and we weren't able to complete it on normal. We had 3 tries and 3 wipes, even with really experienced players, that copied over their mains from their home servers. So we weren't able to pull it off. It is pretty difficult.
Well, actual Abbott still wipes on normal from time to time, heroic. So Epic wiping on normal isn't really surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't totally surprise me because it is one of the most difficult raids in the game, at least according to a lot of people. But I think that people are going to be up for a challenge, including the longtime players, because it's CR 32 on EE, and that's going to be, even with the level cap at 30 eventually, that's going to be a challenge for them.
Oh, definitely. My main worry is that an Epic Abbott might stop people from running heroic pretty much entirely.
It's going to be different loot, so I don't think it'll stop people from running it heroic entirely. Although, in fairness, I'm not sure a lot of people are running heroic right now anyways, so I don't know that's going to cause much problem.
It's like Reaver's Fate. I mean, Reaver's Fate wasn't run that much before Fall of Truth. Since, it's been run even less. And I mean a lot less.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that with most heroic raids. People aren't running them too much these days because they've pretty much already got the stuff, and it's, even if they don't have it, it's fairly outclassed. But the Abbott stuff, the heroic gear is still pretty good. There's still some nice things in there that people like to get. And if you can get a good group together, it is a fun raid, provided you're not having problems with lag or anything like that.
Yeah, I really never ran it that much on Heroic, but now it's going to be a lot easier to flag for Epic. You just have to complete the 4 Epic flagging quests. There's no sigil, there's no Litany of the Dead quest in between the raid and the 4 flagging quests. So people have more of an incentive to run it because it will be easy to flag each Epic life. And also the loot is supposed to be really good. I did take a look at some of the loot when I was on Lemania, and people will be farming it for that.
Oh, yeah, about the flagging, I know people who still haven't flagged for Abbots on any character after 4 or 5 years.
A lot of folks like to at least get to Litany just because it's a good XP run. And I'm a little disappointed that Litany of the Dead's not going to be epic. That could have been a fun quest, but...
Yeah, that would have been interesting as an epic quest, but I think they just wanted to simplify it to encourage people to run it. You know, it's something that doesn't really get run that much on a heroic life. You know, it's one of the rare, difficult raids that you have to really study for, like, you know, the Restless Isles raids, the Titan Forge raid.
Yeah, Litany on heroic is actually pretty easy if you're just talking about the actual quest itself. It's the 4 boss fights that are the difficult part of it. And
yeah, the core quest is not that hard. That's true.
Yeah, if they just upgraded the core quest to epic, it'd probably be too easy.
Yeah, it's a bit of an XP. It's a popular XP quest, so probably don't want to have the same thing at epic levels. But not that we don't have those already. But there you go. Let's see. Plans to address balance. It is not their plan to balance the entire game at one time. They are balancing things in the order that players have reported to us that they need fixed. Trying to balance more than a large amount they already are doing would introduce too much change and risk the system at one time, and also make updates much too infrequent. This is kind of in response to some people asking why aren't they fixing things like barbarians or let's see what else was out there, balancing ranged and casters and all that stuff. This is just kind of say that...
Well, barbarians next.
It's one of the things they're looking at doing next, yeah. This was kind of coming out of the idea of, okay, we're adding melee power to some assassin and tempest trees, but not anything else, which was kind of low-hanging fruit, as they put it, easy stuff to kind of pop in and do really quick. Basically, they're trying to do a fairly long-term balance pass, it appears. And this is just to say that they can't do it all at once. They need to kind of go through and kind of figure it out on the way, or kind of work at it in pieces, not do it all at once. Just because it's, you start to run into some problems. You don't want to break the game, kind of thing. That's the big thing.
Do you think that in the near future they'll make the game stable, once they reach the level 30 cap and they've rebalanced a lot of the classes? Do you think they'll stop tweaking everything, every update or every other update, and then the classes and the level will be stable and they can focus more on content and adding some of the other things that people have asked for, like player housing?
Well, I think there's a couple things to say to that, and I don't know any of this necessarily for sure, but I would say there's probably different people that are working on content versus some of this more system-y stuff, which probably means that some of the content's probably not getting kind of new system stuff behind it to support crazy things that they might want to do. I don't know if it would be accurate to say that they're necessarily pulling a lot of attention away from content development because of this stuff, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. When I spoke to Cookie when we did the new Abbott raid, Mark of Death, he said that he was on the content development team and the system development team was completely separate. So he really didn't know that much about what was going on with systems and DDO, just new content. So it's possible they're not pulling away resources at all by, making all these changes.
I don't know about tweaking everything, but they have stated that level 30 will be the end game, and they won't be going any higher.
At least for a while. I don't know if I would consider that wholly written in stone. It wouldn't surprise me if we maybe eventually got a little higher than that. Although there doesn't necessarily need to be a reason to go higher than that. And that would probably kind of mess with some of the epic reincarnating system as well.
Yeah, but in pencil and paper, isn't level 30 the highest level, like, for one of the sets? I don't know that much about the later
version 4, it is.
Yeah, so I think that they might not ever push it above that, just for that reason. They'd be deviating too far away from pencil and paper.
Well, first edition pretty much went on and on. People had level 60, 70, but that was mainly home brewed. In second ed, they capped it at 32, and I think from third ed onwards, they've capped it at 30.
Yeah, something to that effect. But all I'd say is they're doing balancing, and they're not going to do it all at once. I think the other part of your question was that I think that you're always going to have a little bit of tweaking going on, just from the standpoint that it's a living kind of thing as you add new things to the game and tweak other things. Every time you add either a class or a race or an enhancement or an epic destiny, you introduce something new to the equation of balancing. So you kind of have to, like, one thing can maybe just throw the whole scale out of whack. And let's face it, players are pretty darn creative with how they build characters. So, I don't think when the devs introduced the monk class and the Zen archery feat, they were expecting monkers to totally run rampant down the road. So you can only anticipate that so much.
Zen archery was pretty much an unused feat for a long time, and monks only really came out around 2012.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff to build a moncture was essentially in the game for a long time, and then suddenly monctures showed up and were all the new rage and were very effective. So it's kind of what you get.
Previous to that, I was hearing a lot about barchers, but I haven't seen any of them in a couple of years.
So your point about the game always changing is true, especially because they'll keep adding classes, even if they're only iconic classes. We'll probably get at least a few more core classes, like the Warlock, And then they'll keep adding iconic classes to eventually have an iconic completionist. That's something that could very well happen. So they'll probably have to keep rebalancing the game, in terms of player builds for years, as they add an iconic probably for each core class.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see if they did that. Let's see. Continuing on, MRR. They are changing the caps for no armor and light armor for MMR. And it's going to go down to 50 for robes or no armor, and then they're going to have 100 for light armor. That's just to continue balancing that new feature. Mirrors of Glamoring. Yeehaw. So what was new this week was they allowed for a little while for players to use Mirror of Glamoring on weapons and shields. This is an expansion upon the version. It's currently set to be released with Update 23. Currently, the Mirror of Glamoring is only confirmed to be able to be used to create a cosmetic version of armors and helmets when Update 23 is released. However, they want to also allow players to have weapons and shields. I believe Jerry also said that goggles, they're committing to having goggles for Update 23. But that doesn't say that in this post specifically. So there's kind of some notes on the weapon and shield cosmetics. They only display on your character when you're wielding a weapon with the same combat style. And that has to do with graphics and overlays and all that kind of stuff. The current combat styles are the following: one-handed, two-handed, quarterstaff, great axe, crossbow, repeating crossbow, bow, rune arm, orb, and shield only. And I assume somewhere in there is supposed to be one-handed with a shield. Hand wraps and thrown weapons are not able to be made into cosmetics. Particle effects on weapons and shields do not currently transfer to the cosmetic weapon or shield, but they're kind of exploring some things that they can do with that. And let's see. Any mirrors purchased when Update 23 comes out will work with cosmetic weapons and shields whenever that functionality is enabled. They're hoping they can get that done with Update 23, but they want to at least get it out for armor, helmets, and goggles. The shield weight class also should not make a difference.
Do you think there's any chance of them making cosmetic cloaks?
That's a tough one. Probably not, because there's no cloaks in the game, and I'm not sure what the point would be to do that.
People have asked to add a visible cloak feature a number of times on the forums. Other games
over
have
and
that,
over again.
Don a cloak.
If they do as cosmetic cloaks, I assume we'll see that the Mirror of Glamoring work on that in game as well. Let's see, we got a new person here, Linneman. Do you want to say hi and introduce yourself to DDOcast?
Hello, Linneman is my character's name.
Welcome. We're just kind of cruising through some of the stuff that's coming out. Feel free to jump in as we go through. And thanks for being here and being part of the show. All right, I got to ask this question before. What's the first thing you're going to use a Mirror of Glamoring on?
Yeah, that was my question to everyone else. I was curious. I really like the Silver Flame armor, like the Chain of Conviction, and the Silken armor. The different kind of religious garb, especially if you have a Paladin, which is my main on my home server. So I'm going to take the ones that I have and glamour them, and then farm the rest of them and get a complete set. There's also a Silver Flame helmet that I never got out of the Abbot raid that I'd like to get, and make a cosmetic version of that if it's available.
Hello, Tyrogan.
Hey.
Welcome to DDOcast, episode 350. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? Where do you come from?
Name's Tyrogan. I live in Florida. Been playing DDO for probably about the past 3 to 5. Quite a few years. I usually on Twilight Forge with Dinaman here. I usually run it.
What server do you play on?
Kaibo, this one.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We're talking about the Mirror of Glamoring. The question on the table is, what is the first thing you're going to use a Mirror of Glamoring on?
Well, I have a little armor, Dragon Touched armor. I used an old cosmetic kit on that I'm going to turn into cosmetic and equip it.
The Dragon Touch armor was always I kind of always liked the look, particularly the robe. Although I know some people got a little tired of it because it was fairly ubiquitous for a while. Anyone else have thoughts on what they're going to mirror glamour first?
Well, since you said about the shields, I'm definitely thinking about the Fielen shield from Carnival.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I would thought the Great Club of the Scrag would be a fun one. But that was kind of my thought for hold the big club.
One that some people have mentioned is the parasitic armor from the Harbor chain, the Harbor Madness chain. That's a really cool looking, unusual suit of armor. Kind of the symbiotic armor. It looks like a living skin over you.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool.
Glamour that one too.
There's a lot of really cool options out there, and I think this will probably be one of the most popular things for the update. I'm sure Epic Abbott will have some naysayers, but I'm sure everyone will really like Epic Orchard. But the mirror glamoring, I think, is gonna be the hands down hit of the update.
Yeah. As for weapons, the antique great axe. He's probably going to get a few.
You might have to consider too what the weapon looks like without the particle effects. So, like the anarchic effect or other such things may not be applied. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about weapons. They might get that working, and they might not, and it might be your choice of the weapon that you have on or the cosmetic weapon. I haven't really said what's going to happen with that.
So I generally don't look too much ahead. I'm not sure what the mirror of glamoring is. I tend to just check out stuff whenever it comes out. Is it cosmetic? Just change your cosmetic armor?
Well, what it does, it's not a change in the system, but what it does is it allows you to take an existing item that you have and create a cosmetic kit that's based off of it. It doesn't do anything to the item. It just copies its look into a cosmetic item that you can then put in different cosmetic slots.
A cosmetic item that's going to be bound to account.
Correct.
So you can take a bound to character armor and make a bound to account cosmetic of it.
And you can go running Korthos with dragon armor on.
So if you like the look of a particular armor, you can just trade it around and be wearing that armor all the time.
Pretty much.
Have it look like you're wearing that armor all the time.
It's going to be a store item. The price is currently on Lomania somewhere around 250 turbine points. They have said it's going to be available for daily dice rolls, for high-end rare rolls, but it doesn't look like it's going to drop any chests. At least not as far as I've heard.
It's something that they brought up on the forums and also was brought up on the Twitch stream with Cordovan, that people are asking for a storage tab, like a dressing room or a wardrobe tab, on the inventory sheet, like the pet tab, so that people can store all their cosmetic items, which will probably proliferate after the mirror of glamoring becomes available, and then they can share them among their tunes because they're bound to account.
The age-old problem of inventory space. Never have enough inventory space in this game.
Well, the thing is, we don't have that much inventory space. If you really want to make a lot of cosmetics, you're not going to have that much of a place to store them unless you get rid of your reel, which I'm not sure if people are willing to do. The pet tab does work really well. You can have dozens, whatever we have in the game, like several dozen pets, and they can be accessed by any character.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be kind of fun to see people really utilizing cosmetics in a way that is much more rampant than it currently is. Although you certainly have some challenges to overcome with that. But I think it'll be good for the game and probably generate quite a bit of cash flow. Particularly since they just can't crank out that many cosmetic kits at a time. Or now anything that's already in the game can be a cosmetic kit, which will be really popular. And in case anyone was wondering, that is not slated to work with current cosmetic armors, so that won't work. You can just When I say that, I mean like the cosmetic kits, not any armor or item in the game you can use, but the other things you won't be able to. Although gone will be the days where you can look at someone and kind of have an idea of what they are wearing and using as a weapon. So there you go. Let's see, melee power. There were concerns about two-handed fighting. They're putting glancing blows while moving back into the game. They took it out several years ago. They had plans to fix twitching with two-handed fighting. They just hadn't got to it yet. But if there's a problem, they can always pull glancing blows while moving. They're also adding, as a side note, shield bashing while moving as well. As they continue to scale effects with melee power, it will make two-weapon fighting better. They don't want to add melee power to two-weapon fighting and pull it out later on. They might add something to that later. They also don't have any plans to make two-weapon fighting better with cleave or great cleave. But those are some questions people were asking. Let's see. What else is fun? There is new Crystal Cove gear. They are adding items, level 24 versions of items. They decided to go with a new tier of Crystal Cove loot over the proposed augment plan, mainly due to feedback they received from the community after they laid out the initial idea of augments. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the Lomania Crystal Cove items. They just released them like yesterday, I think. But
somebody's already posted the stats up on the standard forums.
Yeah, you can definitely get the information if you want to look for it. There was certainly an improvement. I would say the improvements were fairly minor. Not that they weren't appropriate, but I don't know that the work required to get a level 24 item is going to be something that's going to interest me. Particularly up to level tier 3. The difference between 20 tier 3 and 24 tier 3 isn't that big. If you don't have the item yet, certainly it would make sense to make a level 24 one potentially, but at the same time, having some level 20 gear when you epic reincarnate is kind of handy.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen of them, most of them are better kept as they are at 20, because the upgrades just aren't strong enough, especially the brawling gloves.
Certainly for the level, the minimum level increase, it's certainly a question of whether or not that is true.
Those were never the primo epic items in the game anyway. You know, they were easier to get back before they started really increasing the level of the content than, you know, the shard, seal, and scroll combo epic items. So
they were easier to get if you were around when Crystal Cove was open.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, if people that play regularly, you know, you could farm the Cove and get those items. It wasn't the really long farming process that getting a scroll was in some of the epic content.
Yeah, they're certainly easier to get than the earlier epic items, and they're, you know, some of them are really nice, kind of nice niche things. Particularly I know the swashbuckling shield is a pretty popular one. I did make the full plate for my tank for a while. It was kind of the best option I could find. I know some other items that are pretty popular. The short swords were pretty neat for their level. I mean, it's all kind of gear that I think is outdated once you get a little higher level.
For me, the main one was the spyglass. But also, you've got to remember the min-level 4 trinkets. I'm surprised the devs haven't made level 24 versions of those.
There was a 24 version of the spyglass. Oh, you're talking about the little dinky trinkets.
The bold, the nimble, the stalwart.
Yeah, they only ever had level 4 versions of those. They were never any higher.
Yes, but now they've brought out level 24. They could have gone for a straight level 4 to 24 upgrade with those.
Could have. I'm curious to see if they'll be using the crafting. You have to make those trinkets to upgrade to tier to 3 at level 20, which is always kind of a pain. But that's what it was.
The biggest pain was actually losing the trinket, because you knew you'd have to make another trinket.
Yeah, I never found a heavy use for those trinkets myself. But there were some decent ones, and I certainly made some. I just kind of forget to use them ever. It's kind of my problem. And the voice is typically in that
I'm
slot
still
anyway.
using the bold trinket on certain level 20 characters.
Yeah, there were some good ones. I never really used the nimble one, but the bold one worked pretty good, and the one that gave you Earthen Guard and some hit points was kind of a nice one if you didn't have anything. But let's see, other notable release notes from the next Lumania update. The Harper tree, the melee power that was in that was halved, and then they also converted Adrenaline to melee power, which I think was a fairly predictable thing that happened. They're just kind of making it the new system, which is essentially what it's doing now. It's just only applying to your weapon damage. Now it will apply to that plus all these other things like sneak attack. I have a feeling rogues are going to be a little more powerful. Going back to the earlier conversation, you're talking about balance with melee power and sneak attacks working with melee power. They're going to be a little beefy.
Does that mean that Adrenaline is going to be passive now? Or are they keeping it as a clicker?
No, it's still active. So you activate it, and then your next attack has plus 300 melee power or whatever it is. But the big difference is right now, the way that it works is it just applies to your weapon damage. Now it will apply to everything that melee power applies to. The most notable example I can think of, which I just mentioned, was sneak attack damage. So imagine your rogue sneaking and stabbing something in the kidneys and getting 300 melee power to sneak attack damage. That's a lot. That's going to be a pretty nice little trick up their sleeve, I think. Let's see, the other fun thing, the Vanguard has landed. These are trees enhancement trees that are in both Fighter and Paladins. The numbers are not finalized and are subject to change, but this is kind of the idea. The tree is focused on secondary shield bash procs, not shield blocking bashes. Holding down block will reduce your DPS. It's like an offhand attack chance. That's kind of the idea. Just like your 2-up in fighting, so it's with a shield. So you just attack normally, and then you get chances to proc shield bashes. Improved shield bash actually already does this on live, but the chance is so small it doesn't work on live while moving, so most players don't really notice it. So basically, it's a free attack while you're using a shield. I'm not going to go through the entire tree, but I'll kind of highlight some of the stuff. The core abilities give you plus to hit and damage with your main weapon and your shield bashing attacks. Let's see, the second, third, fourth core abilities all give you plus 10% to make a secondary shield bash. They also give you additional combat style bonuses to melee attack speed. The third one gives your shield plus 1 weapon damage. Let's see, and the capstone gives you plus 2 to attack, plus 2 to damage, plus 5 double strike, another plus 1 to your shield, and another 5% combat style to melee attack bonus. And it allows you to stun enemies 5% of the time with your shield. There's a save for it, but that's pretty slick. Let's see, if you add all that up, if you have all the core abilities, you can get plus 30% chance to make a secondary shield. You will have a plus, 20% combat style bonus to melee attack speed. Your shield will have plus 2 weapon damage and will be stunning. And your shield will also have a plus 1 critical threat range and critical multiplier. Plus 3 weapon damage. There's a third one in there hiding. So shields will be a little bit better if you have these trees, anyways.
I think you missed out plus 3 to attack with the shield as well.
Yeah, you'll have plus 3 to attack and damage, I think.
And also people on the forums have asked that be changed to 5, 10, 15% to go with the new to hit values.
That would make sense.
And the focus on shields is being removed from the fighter, stalwart, defender tree.
Correct. You can still use shields to qualify for that stuff, but you don't have. You can do it with armor now as well.
Yeah, because I have a Warforged fighter that fights with a 2-handed maul and doesn't use a shield, but takes the stalwart defender tree. And I couldn't use everything in the stalwart defender tree, but now that's being corrected, so the build will be even better than it was before.
Provided you're using medium or heavy armor. My fighter, unfortunately, will not benefit from that because he wears light armor and has evasion, so there you go.
Okay, no, he's just a completely con-based tanky build, but without a shield.
Meanwhile, my fighter has a shield, usually a buckler, the epic swashbuckler for now. You're looking to use that bastion, but I am interested in seeing how that Vanguard tree and the Stalwart Defender tree will mix together when I work on him.
Yeah, there's some pretty slick stuff in here. I think that the devs reported that they did some math and they basically took a build that was following a path and put it in this tree, and they somehow, I didn't look at the math exactly, someone did it on the forums, but they came out with a shield bash strike that was about 4,000 damage. So that's a pretty solid smack. Let's see, tier 1, you can get additional +1 to hit, damage, and armor class. There's some save bonuses in there. There's also activated shield bashing attack. Let's see, and if you damage, you get some extra bonuses there. Tier 2, you can get additional plus to hit damage and AC. You can get plus DCs to your stunning abilities, which is kind of neat. Let's see, there's another melee bass attack and an action boost, which gives to you melee power, which is kind of nice. You can also effectively get deflect arrows while you have a shield equipped, which is pretty darn slick. There's a little bit longer of a time than the arrow's feet, I believe, but you can get it down to 2 seconds at tier 3. The third tier, let's see, you can get another +1 to hit damage and armor class. When there's a shield, I can never pronounce it, riposte. When you're missed, you do some damage, which is pretty neat. There's a +1 crit threat range in there. And let's see, there's also an ability to increase your melee power after you hit with activated stunning abilities. Tier 4, there's a shield charge, which is not currently working. The idea there is you can rush forward up to 30 feet to your selected opponent and deliver a shield attack that hits everything around you. Each opponent is knocked down and takes a shield bash attack for some extra damage with a save for getting knocked over. See, there's critical hit and damage bonuses in there, which appear to be stackable with the current ones. They have a different name and everything. And then tier 5, there's a shield rush, which is you can move forward in a line, delivering a shield bash attack to every creature hit, which does up to +6 weapon damage. So pretty good there. There's also Destroying Smash, which gives enemies stack of vulnerability when they get hit with a shield. There's another 10% shield bash bonus there, and there's a +10 melee power all the way up at the top of that tree. So there's some pretty slick stuff in there. Some choices to be making for sure. I'm going to have to decide if my Paladin tank is going to be tier 5 in Vanguard or tier 5 in Defender, since he's supposed to be a tank. We'll have to see. I'm not really sure yet. What do you guys think about the Vanguard tree?
Yeah, I'm glad that they're fleshing everything out, and they're basically their goal is to give 3 trees to each class, and now with the Vanguard tree and also the Harper tree, there's more of a selection, but they still have to work on those other classes that only have 2 trees.
I'm excited to see how well Sword and Board can be. It sounds like there can be some pretty interesting builds, pretty powerful builds in there as well. And since
that's true too. That Sword and Board never seemed to work very well before this, and hopefully this will correct that.
I wouldn't say it never worked very well. I mean, my Sword and Board Paladin was very effective at holding aggro and keeping aggro. He just didn't do a lot of damage. There was a lot of trade-off, and I think this will really help balance some of that out. And will certainly make for some tough choices that I'm going to have to make on that.
Now there's going to be basically 4 fighting styles. The two-handed, the one-handed, sword and board, and what would be the last one?
There's 2 up and fighting, two-handed fighting, sword and board, single weapon fighting, and I think you got to throw unarmed and wolf and animal forms in there as well. Those two are kind of very related.
Yeah. So I mean, the distinctions are becoming clearer now with the Vanguard tree.
And it should be fun. I'm excited to see that. And choices are always good. And having to make difficult choices are good. There was some, I don't remember where it was, but someone made a post on the forums that was complaining a little bit about not having enough action points. And the devs said pretty clearly that they want people to have to make discernible choices. And you shouldn't be able to get everything from action points. That helps create different build options and really solidify character creation is a major part of the game, so which they are certainly doing. Bonus days through the weekend, September 7th, you can get VIPs, get an extra 5% XP. Autos boxes and double bonus points are also still on sale through September 7th. Sales for the week through September 11th, 20% off of adventure packs and Quest P elixirs, and some nice sales there. The freebie for the week, a secret door divining rod with the code DOOR94, DOOR94. You get one per account. Community news, the Chronicle, 108th Chronicle. I'm going to skip even notes. Note here, Enrique is looking at attacks on Stormwatch Chain in a new blog post. So there are some videos. The Unheroics entered a pirate's prison. And Ginger Spice, who's been on the show before, is creating a series of videos for beginners looking to play the Druid. So if you're looking at playing a Druid and want to get some advice there, you can check those out. The guild for the week, the Epic Warriors, are a Kenneth-based guild looking for players with decent DDO skills. The guild has their own website and a few rules as well. Let's see, moving right along. The Chronicle comment for the week. Which monsters are the best dancers in DDO? And as tradition on the show, if you are here, you have to answer the question.
Well, I'd say that's pretty simple. It's got to be Orthons.
Orthons is a good choice.
I said half-orcs, even though Orthons are probably the best choice. Half-orcs are a character, but also a monster. So.
Yeah, I can say Orthons is a pretty strong choice. I hadn't really thought about this question very much beforehand. But there's some pretty good answers. I gotta stick with Orthons. I like the headbanging. That's a pretty good one. Let's see. DDO Gamer looked at the Harper Tree. He's actually kind of going through everything in a series of blog posts, which you can check out there. DDOcast talked about older content in episode 349. Let's see. Talking Shop. There's a new Update 23 build. You can check that out on the menu. The weekly Wednesday live stream looked at the Mirror of Glamoring this week, and he played around the Orchard of Macabre a little bit. Summer Fling went to Dillard's Tomb and wrapped that up, if you want to go check those guys out. They're also inviting you to play screenshots to the DDO community on the community page for DDO, which is certainly an option. Let's see, there's also an update video, but it didn't really add anything new other than what we've already covered. Let's see, other news going on in the community. There was an announcement regarding Ron's character planner, and this came from Ron himself. He has an announcement of some import regarding the planner. After some 8 years developing and maintaining the program, he's decided to step down as the lead designer on the project, mainly due to time constraints and a desire to move on to other projects. He and Dragon have discussed it, and Dragon is going to be taking over the lead capacity there. So he will be leaving it in good hands there. He's not leaving the team altogether. He will still be continue to be involved heavily with the coding and design of the program. He was actually just working on it before he made this post. So he'll still be around. He's just not going to be the lead designer. Someone else will be making final decisions and scheduling releases and all of that. He said it's been an honor and a privilege to have worked with everyone on the character planner. He looks forward to continuing on in his new role. So the planner's still going to be around. I have used that off and on over the years. It's always been a really helpful tool. I don't know if any of you guys have used that.
I've tried it a few times, and it worked pretty well. But I usually just try to think out the build instead. And I don't really build really complicated builds. I usually just build a single class build. So it wasn't that difficult for me to to plan it out without that planner. But it was a good planner. I thought it was really useful when I did use it.
For me, I tend to create a character at level 1 and then level it up as I go. I've never used a planner.
Yeah, if you weren't familiar with how the game worked and choosing your feeds and all, and kind of planning ahead, it was really useful for planning ahead. It kind of did it in the same general format that the game does. And you could go back and forth between different levels and change things and update them and kind of fix them as you went along. It's a really, really useful tool. I never really used it. I've always been able to really keep builds in my head, and some of the stuff I kind of never really found a need to really get too crazy with planning it. But it's a good build, and I've certainly used it several times.
The character planning in the tool was more useful before there were actually enhancement trees where you could see everything spread out. Before you couldn't see everything. So
absolutely, that is certainly true.
Made it less necessary.
Players helping players. This is Even Notes project. It's intended to be a friendly, welcoming place for DDO players to get help with the basics of the game. The aim isn't to tell you what to do or how to do it, but rather help you figure things out and learn where to turn when you have a problem. It is. She has we'll link to the post on that. You can kind of look and see what's going on. They just did a kind of a Q&A thing. So they had people come in, ask some questions, and she was on with that. And I think there was someone from DDO University, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head. And they just kind of answered some questions for some new folks. So you can check out that blog and see what's going on there. Best of luck to her as she embarks on that. I think it'll be a good resource for new folks. And as I mentioned earlier, DDO Gamer has been reviewing Update 23 and looking at various things in several blog posts. We'll just go through some of the lightning posts, some of the comments that I received recently. See, Big Pants responded to our older content. What he thought was he wants more content in level 15s. He knows about the game having content in Forgotten Realms for level 15, but he wants to see more in Eberron, which is certainly a valid point. It's pretty much the Orchard and a bunch of standalones, I think, are kind of that level range. Or something to that effect.
There's the Missing Chain, Harbinger of Madness.
Yep, that's in that range for sure.
It's 15 to 17 range.
He just kind of said level 15. I want to say...
level 15 is Wayloon, Harbinger of Madness, and pretty much Orchard.
The upper Giant Hold, I think.
No, those are 14s.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a good place to add some content in there. Hello, Zagstrom. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you come from?
Yep, I'm Zagstrom from Australia. There you go.
Awesome, welcome. Do you listen to DDOcast?
Yeah, mate. Yep, I listen to it every week. I'm normally on the way to work.
I hope you have a long commute to listen to that much of me talking.
No, I don't. That's it. It's generally, I'm generally a week behind because it takes so long for me to go through an episode.
Sorry about that. We're just going through some stuff. Feel free to jump in here as you like. Let's see. Other comments. Willix2112 said he loves the show. I just want to add something to Senator Davian's comments about Heroic 3-Ball Cove. The loot in there is not that great, but Turbine did add a bunch of named items that are part of sets and are level 4 to 5. Some are pretty decent at level. And also, 3-Ball Cove did lack some XP, but it did get a boost. If you have an elite streak going, you will average about 19k per quest. He just ran it with his TR group last week. And the heroic XP is completely amazing, even more when you consider that most of the quests are pretty easy. Some good points there.
Yes, Steiner's quite a bit out of date with what he was saying last week about 3-Ball Cove. I don't know about 19k per quest, but you can definitely get from 13 to 16k on an elite streak.
They did increase the XP a little while back, which I kind of knew in the back of my head when we were talking about it, but I didn't think about it at the time. Regarding some of those comments, there were some folks that were less than kind in their comments. And I'm just going to say this kind of blanket statement. We do not claim to be the foremost experts, if experts at all, in every subject. If we do mention something on the show that you know more about, please feel free to share this information with others and even point out that we said something incorrect or stupid. But when doing so, please do so respectfully. You knowing something we didn't off the top of our heads in the moment while we're doing a show does not mean that we don't know anything about the game or we are lousy players. It just means you know more than we did in that moment. So be nice, be kind. We have fragile psyches. Well, not really, but...
Considering where some of those comments were coming from, I don't think you need to worry.
I'm not really too worried about it, but I wanted to say it on the show. Because it's kind of... If you are not respectful and you comment on stuff, I will delete the comments. Because it's not helpful. But having said that, absolutely we are not infallible. There have already 50 shows in, and I have certainly said some things that my brain knew to be false, but I said them anyway because I just wasn't thinking about it and kind of messed up at the time. So not to say that it's hard to memorize everything in the game, and I certainly don't have the exact number of named bucklers in the game in my head. But, talking and listening and reading all at the same time.
It was a bit strange that neither you nor Steiner remembered the swashbuckler from Crystal Cove.
Never made one.
But, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing with bucklers. I've never sought out bucklers in the game before. I still really haven't. I mean, I got a tiller for my bard because I keep getting tillers when I run Three Ball Cove. But, I've never really sought out bucklers. I know there's not very many. But other than the tiller and the barnacle, I wouldn't really even know where to get one other than the Cove one, which is hard to find just because the Cove has to be active. There was another thing just regarding our older content discussion last week. There was a comment about the Vale and Thunderholm being popular Slayer areas. I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding of what I was talking about. I was commenting about Slayer areas, and it'd be nice if they increased the level range. It's true that you can run the Explorer areas and Wilderness areas at any level. However, if someone is over the level range and you are not, you don't advance any of the Slayer, Explorer, or Rare parts of the quest. That's kind of what I was talking about, that I would like to see those level ranges extend in Epic Slayer areas all the way up to 3. So it doesn't matter who you're running with, you don't miss out on XP while you're in those Slayer areas.
Yes, I've talked about that quite a few times myself on the forums. But the thing you're talking about is actually bugged and has been for years, where people can get the XP, but it only happens from time to time. The amount of times I've seen people putting up LFMs where other people won't get the XP, won't get the kills, and it's just people don't realise. The main one for me, though, isn't the epics. It's actually subterranean, because most people running the VOD and Hox raid now, they're in epics already. So anyone who's actually still trying to get the Slayer kills on the way and isn't level 22 plus gets nothing.
Yeah, I think people probably just do the subterranean just for fun, or a lot of people have never even seen it. I've been playing for about 5 years, and I've only been through it, the entire thing once, and we just did it, just to see it. Nobody really got any XP, the lower people.
It's one of the larger Explorer areas.
It's just hard to get together an at-level group for some things, and the subterranean is one of them.
I'd love to see them actually make an epic subterranean Slayer, so we could actually run through that on the way to VOD and Hox.
I was actually thinking that it'd be nice if they made Sands an epic Explorer area too, since they have epic quests out there. It'd be nice if you could run out there on an epic version of the Explorer area.
As long as they don't give us another 9,000 kills to make, yeah.
Supposedly the next area that will get an epic treatment is the Veil with an epic shroud. But it'll take longer to make that into an epic area because of its complexity, and epic shroud would be interesting.
Well, epic shroud's been available on the Mania for years.
Well, it's the loot aspect that's the complicated part. And actually, this will be coming out on the cast in a week or two. I'm kind of saving it for when I get a little busy and don't have time to do a full show on the weekend. But I just did an interview with the Players Council, with several members of the Players Council, and one of the things we talked about was why we went to Epic Orchard instead of Epic Veil. Came up a little bit. So you can look forward to that in a future show. That's pretty much all of the stuff that I have. Is there anything you guys want to talk about or mention or just chime in with? Any questions you want to ask, anything like that? Welcome, Meldor. Do you want to introduce yourself and let us know where you're coming from?
Meldor. I've been playing DDO for just about as long as it's been. I think I started a month after beta.
But yeah, go ahead, guys. Kind of open it up. Anything you guys want to talk about, as long as it's respectful, go for it.
Something you talk to Cordovan regularly, Shamgar, and this is something that I brought up to him a few times, in chat sessions, is that there could be an official DDO blog that compiles everything, like the official DDO.com, the DDO wiki, DDOcast, all the different blogs people have put together, the YouTube channels, everything that people are creating themselves for DDO, and it could be in one place. And even if Jerry doesn't have time to do that, he could be like the head editor, and then different people can be given blog privileges. Like you could blog on that site, and Ginger Spice could, and other people that regularly contribute material.
Well, they had MyDDO for a long while, so there were some things that worked well with it, and there were some things that didn't work very well. So I don't think we'll see anything like that. There is a page that kind of lists. It might actually just be a forum post that's sticky somewhere, but there's something that lists kind of all the different websites and fan site pages and stuff. So.
Okay, but an official blog would help drive traffic to the site and to the game. So, a lot of products have multiple sites where you can visit their blog and visit their main website. It would be a way of increasing traffic to the game too. So, not just for information.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll see anything really official trying to unite all the different blogs, but they certainly. He definitely uses the Chronicle comment, not the Chronicle comment, the DDO Chronicle to kind of highlight different things that are going on. There's a whole section for different blogs. They highlight fan sites like DDOcast and DDO Gamer. So there is. That's probably, I think, as much as they're gonna ever do.
You were talking last week with Steiner about balancing quest levels like Proof is in the Poison and Swipe Signet.
Yeah, those are kind of rough at level.
That's been a bit of a pet project of mine over the years, and I've made a number of forum threads about how the devs could easily upgrade certain quests without really changing anything in the quest, and downgrade others. Proof is in the Poison could be moved up to, like, say, level 5, Signet to level 4, and on the other hand, they could downgrade Chanticleer Part 3 to level 4, and Tangle Part 7 to level 6.
Yeah, it certainly seemed, and I hadn't really considered it before when we were talking about that conversation.
It's easy for their levels.
Yeah, something we kind of came across that I hadn't really considered before was just changing the level of some of those quests. I think this is what tweaks with the XP would kind of be enough to really get them going. Because Proof of the Poison is a rough level 4 quest.
You look at Proof is in the Poison, it's easily much more difficult than say, the Snitch, which is a level higher. or Mystery of Delira's Tomb, which is a level higher. And it already gives more XP than either of those quests. So just upping its level wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly for Proof of the Poison.
Well, I mean, I think it's good though that some things are just really difficult and most people can't complete them. There shouldn't be that many quests like that, but Proof is in the Poison at level is one of those, and then like In the Flesh, in the Harbor Madness chain is another really difficult thing to complete at level. You have to
but Proof is just about the best quest at that level to do. Proof is so much fun. That's like one of the quests when you can do Proof, when you can run that and do it not easily but quickly, then you're getting somewhere in the game.
Maybe back in 2010 when there were a lot of people at low levels, but nowadays with so few people in the game that are still at the low levels, there's less chance of getting a group together for it. So
I've only been playing
really
the game for a year, and I'm yet to be able to find a party to do that quest whenever I TR, and I've TR'd 5 times, so I don't know.
Well, I can do with 2 or 3 people on Elite at level, as long as
I can step in there solo, stick an IP up, and have 2 or 3 people join the party. But people like you and me, we've been in the game for years. We know exactly what to do. We can step in, we can start IP. Newbies, they can't do that. Newbies, they have to stand around waiting for a group
them to do it.
And when they join your group or my group, and we're already IP, and they try to catch up to us, they can get in trouble.
And that quest has a lot of traps in it too.
The main problem with Proof is in the Poison is that it has only the one shrine. If it had, say, even just one more shrine, it wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Yeah, but not just that. When I started playing, I haven't played that long. That was so tough, that quest. You think it's impossible, and the fact that there's one shrine makes it harder. If you've got a group that's not very good.
This is Satin. Satin, why don't you introduce yourself here real quick since you jumped in the conversation. Who are you? Where do you come from?
I'm Satin, or Sat. All my tunes are called Sat. I'm in the guild called Annihilation. I come from London.
Awesome. Please continue.
Where was I saying? Oh yeah, but most of the quests at that level were reasonably easy, aren't they? So then you come across that one, and I used to find Fresh in the Air really difficult as well. I thought it was a really super tough quest. But there should be tough quests at all the levels that make it hard. Otherwise, you sort of lose interest in it. And once you can do it and you can zerg through that one, reasonably easily or with confidence, then as I said, you're getting somewhere in the game.
I think the difference is that at really low levels, like Proof is a level 4 quest. These quests, they shouldn't be that hard. I mean, it's so much harder than 60-70% of the rest of the level 4 quests. Whereas you've also got Fresh in the Air, Eye of Stone, and Come Out and Slay, which are close. Fresh in the Air, I'd say, is actually harder, though much shorter. But you can add the difficulty as you go up in levels. You get the one quest at each level that's slightly more difficult than the average. But Proof is way more difficult than the average.
Well, the issue is when you're talking about, quests that people are going to want to run, when it's that much more difficult, and especially if you've never run it before and you have no idea what you're getting into, it's going to turn you off. And when we talk about something that's that low in level, is that, does that set the expectation that they think that quests are going to be that hard in the game and they don't want to play the game anymore if they're just starting? Those are all things you have to kind of consider at that point.
And pushing Proof up one level, it would still be harder than 50% of the level 5 quests.
It'd be harder than most of the level 14 quests.
It's not that bad, but I do think just moving it up to level 5 would make it a lot better.
Indeed. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Throw stuff out?
Major changes to the game in the future, not just these balancing issues that we've been discussing. Like, do you know anything, Shamgar, about an expansion in the future, or like even adding a third world in addition to Eberron, the Forgotten Realms?
Ooh.
Has there been any discussion of that?
That's a fun question. While I'm thinking about that, Lilwan, do you want to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from?
I'm from freaking Massachusetts, actually.
What's
actually Tim.
What server are you on?
Kaiba.
Excellent. Welcome. Let's see. Other worlds. Do I think there'll be some things added like that to the game? I don't know that we'll see another world I don't think we'll see anything in terms of like Forgotten Realms versus Eberron. I don't think we'll see a third world like that. It seems like they have plenty of places where they can add content. I mean, it took them how many years to really sort of fill out Eberron? Now you have Forgotten Realms. I don't really see you doing a lot more there. Yeah, there's some more continent possibilities, although then you start getting into issues with licensing and making it match with other things that have already happened in different mediums, so you start to have some problems there. So I don't think you'll see that. I would hope to see...
I'd like to see Sarlona.
Maybe. There has been... Well, they were talking about going to the... what was the name of the place? The Anorak Desert or something like that?
That's going to be early next year. Yeah, that's a whole expansion written by Ed Greenwood for pencil and paper.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty good. I would like to see them expand Shavrath a little bit, since there's like 3 different areas when you're on the town, and we only go to 1. I think that would be a nice place to see some expansion. Plus, there's some opportunities from story expansion there as well.
That's been asked for a lot. They're probably saving it for Epic Shavrath.
Maybe, yeah, it's certainly a possibility.
Another thing that has been talked about, they even mentioned in the producer's letter, is player housing, which pretty much every other major game has, and DDO doesn't, including Lotro. Do you know anything about that, Shamgar?
I think it's been tabled at this point.
In terms of development?
I think it's mostly it's not something they ever really spent a lot of time developing. It was something that they were looking at kind of in an initial design phase, but it seems to kind of have stalled while they focus on other things. Not to say that won't ever happen, but I don't think it's a focus.
You get to talk to the devs a lot more than we do. What's the chances of getting kobolds in the next year?
Kobolds are already in the game.
No, it's a player race. And gnomes.
I think you would see gnomes before you saw kobolds. I don't really talk to the devs in great detail. Honestly, I mean, the Players' Council folks have a lot more access to the devs than I do. I mostly just talk to Cordovan, or Cordovan. So I don't know of any plans to currently add a race, but I think whenever we talk about races and classes, they're always kind of have in the back of their mind, what could we add next? What would benefit the game and add to the game in that standpoint? Anyone else have any questions or anything they want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to go and do Bomb 5, but I'd just like to say I think there's way too much criticism of the game in the forums and stuff like that. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah,
all right, take it easy, everyone.
Thanks for participating.
Take care, Satin.
Yeah,
Matt, it was a blast.
Whatever its faults, this is one of the best MMOs out there, and one of the most sophisticated MMOs. I mean, a lot of them seem to just be designed to appeal to kids, and this has a more mature player base of people, that are 25 and older instead of 12-year-olds.
Since I came to DDO, I've tried Lotro, I've tried Neverwinter, I've tried Star Wars, The Old Republic. None of them hold a candle to DDO.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's I can say that they seem to be doing just fine from a standpoint of making budget and keeping the game going. I don't think the game is going anywhere anytime soon. I think we'll be here for a while. It may not be kind of the new flashy game anymore, but it's staying in there. It's staying pretty strong. There's actually an article on Massively. It was like 10 games that people should give a second chance.
Yeah, I read it.
And DDO was on one of them.
10 MMOs that should get a second chance. The perfect 10.
Yep. So it's a solid game. It's we know that there's some issues with it, but I think in large part it's a well designed game. Maybe not well implemented in every area, but there are certainly some really strong design choices that they've made over the years, and it's a really good game. And if you like D&D, I think you have to say that this game has some really great customizability for character creation, which I don't think you get anywhere near that you do in other MMOs. And the quests are they spend a lot of time making quests, and they make some really really good and very clever quests a lot of the times. I may not release as many as we'd like, but that's kind of the trade-off.
Yeah, the quests are really close to pencil and paper D&D, which is their strength. There's really nothing like this in any other MMO. That's one of the problems with the other MMOs is that they're really formulaic quests. They aren't memorable, and they seem very similar to each other. And in every area and pretty much every quest is somehow distinct in DDO.
Yeah.
One thing you didn't talk about last time when you were doing the quest stuff, old content, is you didn't say anything about TRs that do every quest once, which is what I do. And I don't know if anyone else does that, but I think it's much better than going through and finding the highest XP per second you can get and going through and smashing all the quests out. And that comes exactly back to what we were just talking about there. You get to play the game, you get to see the game and see the quests and how fun they all are, see the storylines. It's way more entertaining to me than just hitting cap, just smashing the cap.
95% of quests I do once on Elite and don't go back on the same character, at least until I TR. The other 5% are the ones where you actually need the loot from.
Hi, Space. Why don't you introduce yourself? What server do you play on? Where do you come from?
Okay, from Cleveland, Ohio. My main tune's name is Longsword. Been on about 6 years.
Awesome. Welcome to DDOcast, episode 350.
Good job, Patrick. I love your show, mate. It's good. Very entertaining.
Oh, thanks very much.
Good job. And I listen to you pretty much every week. Even if I don't listen to it on the weekend, I listen to it sometime during the week after it's been recorded.
Well, thanks, guys, for participating in the show. Really appreciate you guys being a part of this one and kind of a fun little something different. So thanks for participating, guys. Thanks for listening to the show, and thanks to all the folks that are contributing to the cast currently. And thanks to Turbine and Wizards for making a great game, and to Cybears for hosting the podcast. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, our calendar, previous shows, swag, and other fun stuff. If you want to be part of the show or just say hi, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates there. The closing tip for the week comes from Kirkos on Orion. He says, good idea to let people know if you can't hear a voice. Very true. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to tell your friends about DDOcast. We have a podcast about DDO that's been going on for 350 shows. So that's pretty slick. So let your friends know about us, and thanks again, everyone, for listening.